And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters, another division. And the firmament, this has confounded many more than one of my students. What are they talking about? And I've done a lot of looking into the firmament. It's the sky dome in their minds. In mythological culture or pre-scientific culture, the dome above the world. And why does there need to be a firmament? Because you're in the midst of the waters.
This is very, very difficult to visualize. Can we jump into verse 7 and look at these two together?
And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so.
And God called the firmament heaven.
Yes, so it's backtracking a little bit here.
So he made the firmament and called it heaven, but in the beginning he made heaven.
Well, that may be sort of the first line may be sort of a topic sentence, like the prologue to a play or something.
Yeah.
Here is how heaven and earth were created in the beginning.
Okay. So he's actually not just creating the earth here. He's creating heaven as well.
Yeah, and then now we're going to see a sort of narrative. This is your dry land, and of course it isn't all just completely flat, but there's some flat areas and some mountains and hills and so forth. There's your dry land that's been created. All right, and now I have an ongoing argument with some of my friends who are very intellectual and know a lot about ancient history and so forth, and they go, well, those people knew the world was round, because they can cite some Greek scholars or intellects who figured out through sundials, over that there was curvature in the earth, right?
Right.
But just because they figured it out, there are people all over the place. They don't all know it. Almost all of them are illiterate. You don't have a whole lot of transmission of information between cultures. So I think there might have been an elite class here and there who understood the earth to be spherical.
Right.
But I think in this culture, the writer of this, or writers of this passage, they're dealing with what we would call a sort of flat earth, right? Over the earth is the firmament. Anything outside of this area, there's water here, but there's also water everywhere. Water everywhere around.
Seems to be water all over the place here.
If you lived on this dry area, if you dig down, sometimes you hit water. And wells are very important in the Bible. They're sacred places.
Yes. Yeah.
That would indicate to a more primitive culture that everything underneath us is water. Of course, you walk. How far can you walk?
And then you come up against water.
You come up against water.
So when it rains, you get water from the sky as well. So water's everywhere. Yeah.
And open up the windows of heaven is the way it's quoted. The windows of heaven. God opens. So all you have to do is open some windows, and you get water, and you get, of course, later a big flood.
Right.
So that's my kind of crude
visualization of all of this.
Visualization, but it makes sense. And the evening and the morning were the second day.